What would you say is the one thing you can't forgive a person for? Marrying a family member's rapist, knowingly. Purposefully harming a child or animal. Using a person's kindness for their own gain. My wife's family taking my distress at losing my wife at 39 as weakness and trying to take advantage to get whatever they could. Nope, can't forget that one. Not simply doing something bad once, but doing it on purpose, enjoying it, and continuing to do it. A person can't be forgiven until they've stopped for good or honestly fight the urge to do it again. Hurting anyone that can't defend themselves. It's an extremely cowardly act. I had a hysterectomy at the ripe age of 32 and never had a chance to have children with my husband. My sister is an alcoholic and she gets very mean when she's drunk. She was upset with me one evening and she was leaving me message after message because I wouldn't pick up. I listened to one. I probably shouldn't have. She said, "You will never know what it's like to have children. You wouldn't have been a good mom." Pretty much saying I deserve it. She's 48 and knows better. But I don't think I can forgive her. She goes too far. But she's in rehab now for her 10th time. Breaking the trust you had in them even when you gave them a second chance. Well, if you know me then it's not surprising. I can't forgive drunk driving. I moved to the United States around 5 years ago from Ireland. 2 years after I did, I was in the car with my family when we were hit by a drunk driver. In the crash, everyone in my family thankfully wasn't hurt except me, due to shrapnel as well as inhalation of toxic fumes. I now am covered in scars and can no longer speak at all other than small squeaks. Because one person decided to drive after drinking. It changed my life and the life of my family forever. Don't drink and drive, people. Not just for your own safety, but everyone's safety. Edit. Thanks for the silver. I'm still new to Reddit, so this is awesome. Thanks for the support. Edit 2. Wow, gold. I didn't think my story was all that special. Thanks a ton. If it's a spouse or partner, cheating. My mother dated this piece of it guy. He acted nice at first, but then turned into a complete shat. This was a on again off again relationship. He would hit me and abuse me when my mom was around, and even when she let him hit me. I was scared for my life one time when her and him were fighting. I had to grab a belt and whack him across his back in order to get him off of her. He chased me up the stairs and threatened to snap my neck. This was back when I was 9. The worst part is, despite all the duck-up things he did to my sister and me, my mom still had a child with the man. He doesn't pay child support and he barely has place of his own. He still live in apartment house in his 50s. He wanted to go to the NBA, but was too stupid and stubborn to finish college. He blames his behavior or his upbringing as his dad treated him the same. I'm not his son. He was never married to my mom. I have no reason to contact him even if he's the dad of my little sister. Visitation with him and my sister are limited because I was living on the house. I don't feel sad nor guilty for having that power over their relationship. It's at my sister's fault that she's in this world. But I hope she know that her dad is piece of it. I hope one he does so I can spit on his grave. Other than the obvious, committing a violent or sexual offense, close friends or family suddenly ghosting me. It's cruel to leave someone twisting in the wind. Sack up and tell me that you don't want to be a part of my life, for whatever reason, and then move on. If they lie extensively and try to cover it up, break your heart, and then lie to you again, but you have no way to prove it, you end things but always wonder if you've made a mistake. My father cheated on my mom when she had stage 4 cancer. I was 23 at the time and ended up giving up my apartment and moving back home to take care of her. She had squamous cell carcinoma on her foot, so they had to amputate most of her leg and she was in a lot of pain. One night I heard them arguing and he said, "Well, I can't get it from you, so I'll have to get it somewhere else." He ended up spending most of his time at the house of some woman he met from the neighborhood. My brothers, who never so much as visited our mom during the time she was sick, tell me I'm overreacting and I should just get over it. So long as I'm drawing breath, I'll never forgive that son of a bitch for treating my mom that way, and I'll continue to be estranged from my brothers. 2. Taking any caring person for granted. My first relationship was ended by a mutual friend who talked behind my back. She managed to convince my boyfriend that I was an asshole for studying instead of partying with him. I wanted to give us financial stability so he could pursue his art career. After we broke up, she tried to form a relationship with him and failed miserably. I still talk to my ex, and we got our friendship back. What she destroyed, though, will never be the same. From as long as I can remember, she's the one person that I never managed to forgive. Shaming someone trying to better themselves, whether it might be an overweight person in the gym or someone working a minimum wage job. You have no idea what they are going through and yet you chose to make fun out of them. Pedophilia. I've cut off my own family for this reason and I don't regret it. I would find it impossible to forgive myself after being cheated on. Being a pedophile, a rapist, or an animal abuser. Humiliating me horrifically over the course of multiple years that led me to develop crippling mental health and acting like just because you were a teenager it means nothing. My father calling the police on me after his girlfriend moved in and he changed the locks while all my stuff was in the house still. My mother orchestrating the adoption of my child to my aunt. Haven't seen my son in 8 years. Before anyone asks, she ran a campaign of lies against me to all the family and threatened to have me bodily harmed should I defy her. I was Baker acted with her signature and she kidnapped my son to take him to his new parents. Needless to say, I moved continents and am now working on building my self-confidence and independence. Theft. It's not the first time they stole, it's the first time you caught them. Taking advantage of someone's disability, mental, physical, whatever it may be. This Methodica Daniel asked me to bring my foiled Charizard Pokemon card to school to show it to him and I know he stole it out of my backpack later that day while we were at recess. I'll take this second grade grudge to the goddamn grave. Downright despicable and wholly unforgivable. Using permanent marker on the whiteboard. Also, putting empty ice trays in the freezer. Saying, if you ever need help, just let me know. I let people know I needed help. They never had the time. This comes from raising a special needs kid and desperately needing time to get errands done or maybe having someone else step in for one bath time so I could rest my back. When my son died I wouldn't let any of them offer me anything. No, I don't want your damn casseroles and no, I don't want you coming back to my house. Stay the hell away because it's what you did best while he was still alive and living at home. I can't forgive my now alienated spouse's family for all literally lining up to kick me when I was down. They never liked me. My husband at a low point had an affair and every member of his immediate family took that to mean it was now open season on me and each unleashed every verbal disgusting assault they could. All within weeks of my life having crumbled around me as I knew it. My husband worked his ass off in the years after to earn back my trust and respect. He was an incredibly damaged human from his upbringing in such a family. Therapy and more therapy. I lived years in agony out of love and respect for him, trying to make it through the mire that my life had become. But I cannot bring myself to try to reconcile with people who literally saw me grasping for reasons to still live and decided to grind their heels into my fingers. They killed any chance of being in my life and the lives of my children for good. Emotionally abusing your child. Thanks mum and dad for enabling. Really ducks up with your self-worth. But also I guess not emotionally investing in those you're supposed to. If someone tried to kill me I'd be unable to forgive them. Well, I lost a friend because during a shooting happening near my school, first shooting I ever experienced, he told me and my other friends he was sad that he was stuck at home because it probably would have been exciting to experience. Just a cool thing now. Anyways, duck that guy. I was terrified. A few years ago one of my ex's cousins died in a car crash. It took an extreme emotional toll on my ex and her entire family. My ex and her mother wound up on an extremely emotional late night phone call. For context, they are Chinese, so I didn't understand any of the details of the conversation. As I'm lying in bed they finally hang up their phones, and for whatever reason my spidey sense goes off. I get up to go check on my ex in the living room to find her holding a knife and moving it toward her wrist. I had to wrestle the knife from her and put her in a hold while she thrashed and cried uncontrollably. Turns out her mother ended their conversation telling her that she wished she had aborted her. Since then they have both gone to therapy, individually, and have not only worked out their problems but have forged an even stronger relationship than either of them ever thought they could have. I'm proud of both of them. But what the mother did that night is one thing I can't and won't forgive her for. Having the courage to be vulnerable and then having it thrown in your face. Thank you, kind stranger, for the silver. Mine is more specific. I've never hated someone more in my life and I haven't forgiven them. I want them dead. My no longer best friend, 21F, was sleeping with her professor, 40M, married, who emotionally manipulated her into the relationship. He stalked her, said nice things to her, messaged her online, bought her clothes to have a sex in, told her he was aroused by her and when she was in class and it made his day. All this gross power play it. One day my former friend and I booked tickets to Japan to go together. But apparently the professor booked tickets too so he could spend some more time with her away from prying eyes. The school administration had a word with them, but allowed it despite the obvious abuse of authority. I found out my friend told her parents that she was going with only me, when it was really the three of us so she could spend time with the people she cared about. I bailed. I cried. I was suddenly just a tool to make their relationship work. I can't imagine how forgiving my parents were when I said I was forfeiting a flight that cost so much of their money because it was a gift to me. The professor messaged me I made life difficult for him. What was gonna be their excuse for the flight now? He said. I haven't spoken to her since. Terrorizing me emotionally by strongly implying that you are going to commit suicide because something that I did was an inconvenience to you. Then purposely avoiding my calls and messages when I desperately try to contact you. Then acting as though you never intended to worry me, but do it all again in a few months anyway. I wouldn't. One thing, Jesus. Start with all the variations on genocide and work your way down until you're comfortable forgiving somebody for something. My ex at the moment since finding out I had cancer has been harassing me and taking me to courts near enough every month and also has been telling people that I've only a few weeks left to live etc. I'm not terminal, and for that, I can never forgive him. Who does that to someone trying to recover and stay stressless? I have two ex-boyfriends who I will never forgive. They were both extremely emotionally abusive. I don't care what people have done. It's not about the act or violation. It's about their reaction to their own mistake. Anyone can regain respect in my eyes. My mom financially and emotionally cut off me and my sister when we were in our first and third years of college, respectively, to chase a relationship and business endeavor with a woman she had just started a relationship with. She spent close to $1 million that would have been left to me and my siblings, while systematically cutting out everyone who questioned her decisions. Ultimately she lost everything, and now crashes on my sister's couch between evictions. She's never really assumed responsibility, so we can't forgive her. To be clear, it's not the money I can't forgive her for, it's the fact that I saw her in a place where she thought she didn't need us and could afford to kick us to the curb to benefit herself personally. So she did so. How a person acts when they feel like they have everything can be just as revealing as how they act when their back is up against the wall. Unloyalty, lying and stuff, since I have trust issues already. My boyfriend killed himself. I had a woman tell me you are the reason he killed himself. Just saying. It was the just saying that threw me into a rage. Anything that ends in my death. Cause, you know, I'm dead. Stealing my cheese. My brother's ex ate half of my block of $40 a pound sharp cheddar and I was livid. She was never forgiven. My mum kicking me out when I confessed my stepdad was molesting me when I was 13. Even though I want to forgive her and build a relationship, I can't, especially as she is still with him. My mother hid my father's side of my family from me, saying they wanted nothing to do with me and lied and said she's never spoken to them. I met them earlier this year and it was all a lie. I wouldn't say this is the only thing you can't forgive a person for, but being married with a family and then leaving your spouse for their best friend. That's a relationship taboo in my opinion. My ex-husband for being in the hospital parking lot, on the phone with his girlfriend while I was in labor giving birth to our stillborn baby. It was agonizing enough knowing that you're giving birth to a stillborn baby, but wondering where your partner is and having to go through it alone was absolute hell. I cannot forgive him for that. Hurting the innocent who can't defend themselves. Children, old and frail people, the disabled and yes, animals. This probably doesn't stack up to the other comments, but for me it is my dad's decision to refuse to provide his tax info for my FAFSA. His reasoning being that I don't talk to him enough, he was abusive during my teens, and that I wasn't respectful to him from age 15-18. Seriously, this was his reasoning. Forced me out of school, lost my financial aid and scholarships, and sent me into a depression that took 5 years for me to recover from. Never will forgive him for that. Child molestation. I have had to cut many people from my life because I either found out they may have dabbled at one point in it, or have forgiven people who have done it and trust them around their kids. Duck that. My ex beat me up. Not a slap but a full-on punching, kicking, spitting, pound me to the ground beat. I was able to make it to the front door, swing it open and scream for help. No one helped. No one called 911. Everyone ignored me. I will never forgive those people who decided to ignore my screams and cries for help. We lived in a cul-de-sac and the neighbors were 5 feet away on either side. I'm still dealing with your problems 7 years later. I make sure to check out screaming and yells for help. Who knows if it's someone playing at the park or someone scared for their life. Any form of abuse equals I'd gladly go to jail to prevent it happening if I can. Screwing with my financial stability. The case in point, a former boss of mine who, through gross incompetence and an inability to take responsibility for her mistakes and missteps, was trying to fire me as a scapegoat for a lack of progress on her completely unrealistic goals. I genuinely hate her, on a very personal level, and wouldn't piss on her if she was on fire. It is my firm belief that if she just suddenly dropped dead, the world would be a better place. My ex-stepdad abusing me starting at the age of 3. My brain is permanently changed because of him. I will never be able to enjoy life fully, and he still gets to walk this earth freely without a care in the world. I often daydream about things being different and watching him rot in jail, or me stepping into his perfect world and completely ruining everything for him. I was watching a Joe Rogan Experience the other day where Ari Shaffir slipped Molly into Bert Kreischer's drink. If a friend did that to me, they wouldn't be a friend anymore. It would be a huge violation of trust, and it just seems very cynical if there was no prior agreement. Betraying my trust and telling me to my face that they didn't care. People that tell someone to go kill themselves. My twin dated someone who told him this when they were breaking up. He was completely in love with her. He ended up killing himself a week later. Taking advantage of my kindness and lying to my face for months while keeping stupid pointless secrets. Making plans and inviting me, but expecting me to pay for everything. Spending the entirety of our friendship smiling in my face while talking it behind my back. 3 different scenarios. 3 different itty assholes. There are more, but these are the ones that hurt the worst, and therefore will never be forgiven. Previous friend of mine spent over $70,000 on IFV treatments with his wife to have a baby. They had to do 2 rounds and she got pregnant on the 2nd. She was working a retail job with no maternity leave and he told her she could stay home to reduce stress. So she quit her job. While she stayed home, she started selling craft items for her own spending money etc. He left her for 5 months into the pregnancy for one of our good mutual friends. He cited that she had been crazy their whole marriage and she knows how much I hate her and I didn't want to get married, but her dad paid so much for the wedding. His wife had to find a job that would still give her time off when she gave birth. But she finally did at a call center. She started dating another guy while she was pregnant and he was there when she gave birth. But her husband wasn't. I honestly don't know who is even listed on the birth certificate. I guess her ex-husband because he still had some form of custody. I can't remember when the divorce was finalized, but he got married to the new girl when the kid was about 6 months old. He only had supervised visitation, because apparently his ex was making up stories about how he treated their kid and how they would leave him for hours while they went shopping or played video games etc. We live in a state that is not friendly to fathers in custody arrangements, but I think down the road he did get partial custody. The worst part is that we had a group of about 10 mutual friends and more than half sided with the husband and backed the she was a crazy wife story. I stopped hanging out with everyone after that. Putting her dog down after she mistreated it, then fishing for sympathy on social media as if the poor pup had been hit by a car. Itch got a puppy about a month after. Being a parent and clearly having a favorite child, it can really duck with your brain as a child having your own parent not love you as much as your sibling. My stepfather telling me the following a month after my grandfather died in front of me. What do you and your mother have to be depressed about? Oh, taking care of him wasn't that hard. Good to know how he values 7 years of my life. Let me sell your stuff, I need the money for a trip. Get over yourself. Yep, stepdad doesn't give a rip and never did. Generally, murder. I will discern anyone. No exceptions. Who commits this? Specifically, my dad. Worked his ass off for decades and went from a warehouse worker to a millionaire, but it was not for us. Whole thing, to this very day, was just to prove to his now non-existent friends what a big time ducking success he was. Even we, his kids, are nothing but bragging rights for him. Taught us nothing except that this world wasn't fair but demanded we excel in it anyway. Which is all he did. Just demand. No guidance. Zilch. Pretty harsh for a scared kid growing up pre-internet with nobody around him who knew anything about the world. Only time he was interested in my welfare was to look at the school report card twice a year, which he barely ducking understood anyway. Slapped the crap out of my mum in the early days. Made her so unhappy she overate and died well before she or he should have done. Might as well have not been there the whole ducking time growing up. He's paying for it now. Having spent nearly all of his widower time a cripple. I guess there's some justice in this world. I try my damnedest to be the uncle to my nieces and nephews that he wasn't as a father to us. To his face I've forgiven him. But in my heart I'll be laughing when he dies. Someone peeing in an upside down frisbee. Freezing it. Then removing the frozen pee out of the frisbee and sliding it under your door for you to discover hours later. Playing smoke on the water in a guitar shop. Bullying. Making other people suffer for your insecurities is pure weakness. The worst bit about it is that it can cause long-term damage to the victim. While the bully grows up fine, they're left to suffer for years afterwards, while the other gets away scot-free. You can't forgive someone for causing that kind of needless pain to someone else.